Hey guys, welcome to Saints Game Talk. I'm T Rose G Man. Sam Rob Saints coming off a 20-10 butt kicking by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Same story, same old, same old. Sam, what you got for us this week?
Well, not a lot of good things. Um, it seems like the team is at a point where an inflection point here in the season. Um, not only at quarterback, but just in general. What are they going to be from here on out? Um, that was one of the most disappointing performances I think I've ever seen. Uh, as with when you relate it to what the expectation was for this team this year, and even this week. Coming off of losing to the Ravens, that was pretty bad. Uh, but you knew they were a good team. You expected to at least have a decent performance against the Steelers, and you didn't. And that says a lot about where this team is right now.
Absolutely. And Pike, what's your take on what we witnessed Sunday?
Who that nation? On Sunday, all I can say is, what in the hell was that? No sense of urgency. The coaching was atrocious. Penalties. Couldn't run the ball. Couldn't stop the run. Tackling. Fam, I have an early did you know. The longest play from scrimmage the Steelers had before the Saints was 8 yards. Let that sink in. Only 8 yards.
Wow.
And did I say penalties?
And it's, every week, penalties, turnovers.
Yeah. And the other part of the fact you gave us there, Gerard, is they had 5 plays, or was it 6 plays of 20 or more yards on the Saints that evening. This team is a sloppy, disorganized mess, man. Too many penalties. It's bad off. Something's missing. I think what that is leadership. Leadership, and I'm talking about not on the field, although we have a little bit of a void, it seems there, but on the sidelines from your head coach. We may not have scrutinized Allen's leadership qualities as well as we should have.
Yes.
I concur.
Do you guys know that there's a petition going around on the internet that they asking people to sign to have the Saints fire Allen? I think that's I don't know about that, right. But
Yeah, I saw that. I'm almost never for mid-season firings. They don't solve anything. If you're outraged, I guess it vents your spleen a little bit, or vents the spleen, the collective spleen of your fan base, because they're angry because of the way the coach is doing. But that's not the best thing. One thing that we've had throughout the Benson years, actually, certainly in the last 15 or 20, but it's stability. I don't believe you ever really accomplish anything by firing a coach in the middle of the season.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that would be a good move. I think it would send an even worse message to the fan base, even though a lot of them screaming for it right now. I don't think that's the move you need to make. And like I keep saying every week, they're only 2 games out of first place. That makes
sense.
So with the injuries this team has right now, we got a mass unit on the offensive line. They got a guy playing on the offensive center I never even heard of before. So,
this injury spree over these last 2.5 years I've never seen anything like it. I believe we've all watched since, I know me, since maybe 68, 69. Um, I've never seen a Saint team. I've seen Saint teams a little worse than this before, but I've never seen them this messed up with injuries for such a long period.
Now, when you say long
Yeah.
period, you mean going back to last year or just this year?
Yeah, I'm talking about
For the
pretty
last
much the last two and a half years.
absolutely.
Yeah, I would say at least the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And look, the Pelicans went through something like that about 3 years ago. We still had some injuries, two different sports, but I know what you're talking about where you feel like your snake bit, where
Mhm.
every year some major parts are not available.
Right. And,
so-
and that hurts us.
I'm
Let,
gonna go-
let me ask you guys something real quick. Just a discussion point. And this goes back to when I kind of first had some doubts about Dennis Allen's leadership. When I heard that he named co-defensive coordinators, that sent up a little bit of a red flag to me. I mean, both those guys are good. I'm very familiar with Chris Richard because from Dallas, and he had a pretty good go there and was well thought of. And Ryan, I can't think of the guy's last name. He's also, they think a lot of him here, and obviously he's a very good coach. Both of them were vying for the defense coordinator spot. They both worked under him the last couple of years, but he didn't make a decision. Okay, you're going to upset somebody. That's part of leadership, is dealing with that. And it seemed like he just didn't want to deal with that. So did you guys take that as mark that as a strike against his leadership ability or decision-making ability?
No, I tell you what, without being in the room, in the building, it's hard to say. That is, what you said is a very valid point, and it could have been political, where you got two guys who are potential coordinator positions, down the road, or even head coaches, and you're trying to help these two guys. I don't know what it is because we're not in the room. I didn't when I heard that. It was interesting, but it didn't strike as a red flag of lack of leadership. It was an interesting leadership move, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
I found
so now looking in retrospect, though, at what's happened, particularly on the defensive side, do you mark it now as a mark of failed leadership, not choosing a leader?
No, because I personally think that the leader should still be the head coach, or at the end of the day, regardless of how many coordinators you got, the leader should be that guy. And it's like I said, I don't know what the reason is.
Right.
If I had more information, I could say, hey, that's a coward move or whatever. But without being in the building, my personal opinion is it didn't come across to me like that. Now, granted, to say, Sam, you're harder on the team than I am, and
I'm just saying what happens.
Let me just say this though.
Well, I'm gonna say,
you've been right this season. There've been times when you've been saying stuff in previous seasons and ended up being cool, but this year your concerns were right, as opposed to maybe last year, year before last.
Well, yeah, and I ain't gonna let myself off because I was drinking the Kool-Aid this year. I thought that defense looked damn good.
And quite frankly, I think we kind of got you into the Kool-Aid because we were, and look, I like having a guy like you that's always saying, hey, nah, wait, hold up. I ain't drinking the Kool-Aid. And it makes for interesting conversation. It also makes different, give us a different view. But go ahead, Pipe. Yeah. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I agree with Sam to some extent with that failure to make that call. To okay, I need you. This is who's going to lead my defense. You said Carmichael is my offensive coordinator. Well, Richard is my defensive coordinator, and I know that's possible that might have Sam say ruffle some feathers, but I mean, you the head coach, you got
Part
to
of the
make that
job.
call.
Yeah.
You
And,
know,
and,
you got
and,
you
and I
got to
guess
make that call. If you got these two guys on you. To be honest with you, I think the defensive coordinators that we should have had is with the Jets right now,
who's that?
Aaron
Yeah.
Glenn.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
I mean, in my opinion, I know
No,
Michelle
He was with the
from
Lions last year,
Seattle.
though, right?
he's with he's with. I thought he
Detroit.
was with Detroit.
He was,
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's,
Detroit. I'm sorry, I
yeah,
thought he
yeah,
was
Yeah.
with
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Detroit.
yeah,
You're right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
His playing career was mostly with New York, but yeah, I like the idea of him as a DC,
Right.
but he's DC up there, and only way they let him go from up there, or only way he leaves from up there is if it's a head coach. Because I think him and their head coach Dan Campbell, they were both on this staff with
Right.
Peyton, and I think they became
Yeah.
tight. You know, so and he don't want to lose Aaron. He don't
Yeah,
want to
for
lose
sure.
Aaron. So, yeah.
But look, that's what what you're saying, and that's a very interesting question you bring up, and to play a little bit of a devil's advocate, you know, when Sean Payton was here, Carmichael was the offensive coordinator, and they were kind of a two-headed monster, but clearly
Mm-hmm.
Payton was the head, and when they said that they were going to name two defensive coordinators with the former defensive coordinator being the head coach, I thought it would be the same kind of deal with Peyton, with Carmichael, where he had, which I'm assuming he still does, has the power to veto or okay anything that happens that comes out of that room.
Right. Well, he yeah, and he calls the plays, so, right, on Sunday.
Yes.
The defensive plays. Yeah.
Anything that happens on this team falls on Dennis Allen's head, no matter what it is.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah.
Exactly. And look, win or lose, man, we winning and losing as a team. You know.
Yeah, absolutely, and I hope it stays that way. You know, there's no need to go point. Let us Yahoos point fingers at who
they do a good job.
Let us Monday morning quarterbacks or recliner coaches pull that one off.
Because
right.
I tell you what,
teams stay together.
Since Benson has been in charge of, now he's deceased, of course, but they have done an admirable job of keeping whatever internal conflicts out of the media and the public until after the season. You know, some of the reporters will start saying stuff in the off season about things.
Right.
So
sometimes years later.
Exactly. So they've over the last, in the Peyton era, which we're kind of still in the last throes of, because we still got a lot of his people. They've done a good job, and I think that's probably something he learned from Parcells about not letting inside distractions become outside distractions.
Right.
Because even with this quarterback stuff, every little opportunity that we've had to have a story for the media, it's never grown to monster status under this regime.
Right.
Let's say just under the Mickey Loomis, since he's been here.
Well, no, that's the way it's supposed to be. Because if you got teams with turmoil, I mean, the record shows that year in and year out.
And that also reflects on season ticket sales. You know.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Something tells me that waiting list is gonna shrivel up.
Right. We've been on it since 2004, and we finally got tickets this year.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
No, 2007. I think 2007.
Wow. Yeah. I had a hookup and it got me. But yeah.
He didn't say that, Gail Benson. You didn't hear
that. What I mean is someone else who bought them, who then, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, yeah. Moving on. Cut that out, T.
Cool. So I'm just going to quickly go through the team stats. Total yards, Steelers had 379 to the Saints 186. Passing yards, Steelers had 162 to our 157. Rushing yards, Steelers had 217. We had 29. Now this is what's weird. Yards per play, Steelers had 4.8 per play. We had 4.1 each play. First downs, Steelers had 28. We had 10. Third down efficiency, they were 9 out of 17. We were 3 out of 12. Fourth down efficiency, They were 1 out of 1. We were 0 out of 1. Here's a key stat. Total plays. They had 79. We had 45.
Wow.
Sacks allowed.
Didn't know that.
They had 6. We had 2. Punts. They had 3. We had 5. Penalties. They had 3 for 40. We had 10 for 74. No one lost fumbles. We threw 2 interceptions. They didn't throw any. Here's another key stat, and we've been seeing this play out all this season. Time of possession. Pittsburgh had the ball 57 seconds. We had it 21 minutes and 4 seconds. So you go to the turnovers, you go to the penalties, you go to the time of possession, and you go to rushing.
Yeah.
Well, the Saints came right on time for the Steelers.
Yeah, and I'll give you one more. 10 first downs. Man, that's a half. You know what I mean? 10 first downs.
Almost a third.
You're supposed to have that in a half.
Almost a third.
So it's
28
to
10.
Right. Well, what I mean is yeah, exactly. So
either or, it's not football.
On the low end, on the low end even, that's so. But yeah, there's a few things, man. I think that we're asking a little bit too much of Kamara. I think we need another back to shoulder some of that load. I'd like to see a bigger back, a back who can run through contact. Not that Alvin Kamara can't do that, but you got to ask, is that what you want to? Is that what you want to do with Alvin Kamara?
No, we don't.
I mean, sure. He can run between tackles. I know he can do it, and you'll do it every now and then. But come on, that's a speed back.
I got a question for you guys. What number of carries would you like to see him have per game? This week he had 8 carries.
Carries or touches?
Touches. He had 8 carries for 26 yards, 3.2 average, and he caught 3 passes for 19. So he basically had 11 touches. What's your touch number for him, Sam? That you think he could be effective?
I like about 17 to 20.
Okay, what about you, Pike?
Touches for Kamara?
Yeah.
Run? You mean touches?
Touches, receiving and
running and receiving?
Yes.
Running and receiving, I like to get him anywhere from 20 to 24.
Okay, so you guys, Sam's on the low end, you're on the high end. I was saying 15, so we're all kind of different places, and they didn't even get that. I think he got 11.
Right. That's another note I took here. Just really poor use of our players. That Alvin's not touching the ball enough. And then on that last play, going deep to White. Well, he's a speed guy, okay, but he hasn't shown that he can make the big contested catch. Why would you not have your rookie out there, Shaheed, who has shown you something and he's still not getting him in? He scored on that end around the first time he touched the ball. Have we seen that play again? Not at all. I mean, it's I don't know what they're thinking. It's week after week. We're not using Taysom enough either. I mean, he can just get the ball to him. He can move. Even if you get it to him downfield via pass on a tight end route, he can catch that. Let's do it. It's not like we have too many players out there. We're looking for playmakers. Let's get it to him.
Right.
Yeah.
Just because we're down, we can't sit him on the sidelines. I'm sorry.
I have the same notes. Not getting the balls in the hands of the playmakers, i.e., Rashid, Kamara, and Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, Olavi getting his touches. I mean, I think it's outstanding.
Right. He's being fed, but you've got some gaps in production, but it seems like we have possible pieces to fit those gaps, and we're not using it in the optimal way. Not even close, actually. I'm not saying that solves all our problems, but, show me that you're at least throwing punches in this thing. We're having a tough time, a tough season, but let's use all our ammo, man.
Sam, I got a question for you.
We need a shake-up. We need a shake-up. I don't know what that's going to be, but, I mean, I said last week, I think Winston should have started. I mean, I still say that it might not be the difference, but at least it'll give us a different flavor.
Okay, Sam, I got a
But
question for you. You
yes,
watch
sir.
game film. Um,
Hmm.
have you noticed from the last two or three games? Well, not the last game before this because we won. Um, did you notice the body language any different this week when things started? When things weren't going well for us.
I, I I can't say I really noticed anything in body language. Wasn't really looking for it. It felt like it watching the game live. Uh, Watching the game live, it felt like there was a drag on us, but I didn't necessarily see anything in game film. But I will say this: one cat that played pretty decently, 55, Kadeem Ellis, I think is his name.
Yeah, he flashed. He was all over the place.
Yeah, and before, um, he would to me always be just a little short. Didn't quite make the tackle. Didn't quite get there. Man, he played pretty good. Now a backup can come in and play good for 1 week. Let's see if he can do it. For 2 or 3 the whole time Werner's out. So,
Whose
but yeah,
position?
that it was encouraging to see him play well.
Whose spot did he take?
Werner.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. Werner went out
Warner
last
was
week.
inactive. Yeah.
Okay, got you.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. So next week we got the Rams. The hate. I know Piper, you hate the Rams with a passion. So, Pipe, what's your take
You
on
mean
the
the
Lambs?
LA Ham?
They're not even the Lambs no more. They're the ham. You done straight
Yeah,
up made them
man.
pork. You turned them into pork.
Yeah, that'd be a nice thing for Sunday, huh?
Yeah, I'm actually
Oh,
me and my
yeah.
family. We're gonna be at the game. So
Well,
Yeah. There's going to be quite a bit of for the foreseeable.
let me ask you guys
Right.
a question. Do you think there might have been an emotional letdown after dominating the Raiders and guys saying, "Okay, this is who we are"? And one thing I've
I,
noticed about the pro players, even after a loss, I love watching behind the scenes footage of like those NC, when you got either the mic'd up or whatever. So a lot of times I've seen even the Saints, I've seen us come off a terrible loss and they're interviewing somebody in the locker room. And guys, you can hear them in the background jostling around, which I think is a good thing.
hmm
Everybody's not walking around in a pause. So do you
hmm
guys think that with that overwhelming display of tenacity against the Raiders that these guys simply were let down going into Pittsburgh?
I think,
Looking at, saying
I,
Pittsburgh is not their
well,
usual strong self and
right.
looking at that record and might have been looking
Well,
ahead to the Rams.
yeah. Nah, I don't know, man. I think the Raiders were that bad,
Got you.
you know,
And
and
we've been consistent in all the bad things we've been doing, so this wasn't a one-off.
right. Right. We had a brief respite during that game from the constant penalties, but
Right.
I think overall it was just the Raiders being so bad that
yeah,
I mean
Right.
they get in their way more than we do,
Right.
and
Right.
yeah,
we had the best of a number of bad days. So, I mean, I think if that would have been a good team, that would have been a dogfight of a game. So
yeah.
but
The
they weren't
Raiders,
even competent.
the Raiders were better than I actually thought they were,
Mm-hmm.
and the Ravens is better than well. I thought they were not as good a team as they showed that night they played the Saints.
So no, coming into the
So
game,
we
you
got
didn't.
both sides of the coin,
Gotcha. So you thought the
Right.
Raiders were better than they were, and you thought the
and I
Ravens
thought the Ravens weren't as
weren't
good
as
as they were.
okay. And I think I remembered specifically about the Ravens. I remember you kind of saying that.
Yeah, they had a situation where they blew a couple games early in the season, 2 maybe 3 games, last possession type games,
Mm-hmm.
and they were really I don't remember the details, but they should have closed him out and didn't do the smart thing. Just had brain
And
fart.
Sam, I want to go back to something that you said at the top of this conversation. I'm thinking about it a little bit more. When you were saying that you believe that, DA making that decision to have two defensive coordinators, I would love, because that's the kind of stuff, that's why I love these player podcasts, because years later, we're getting the real story of what happened in some situations, with all these guys. And that's what I love about this new platform where the players are taking control and they're being honest and they're being, because that's how they talk to each other when they're socializing off season or whatever.
Right.
They're saying some real stuff that we never get to hear, or I should say rarely get to hear. So I would love to get some players' opinions, and I'm just wishing, because this will never happen in real time, but I would love to see what the defensive players or the team in general says about him naming these two guys, because sometimes
I don't know that I would think of it as something actively, openly disruptive, right? But just it wasn't decisive. You know what I mean? And that sends a subtle message unto itself, and for me, I'm like, damn, he couldn't make a decision. I can't even imagine Sean Payton doing that for what looks like the reasons he was doing it. It's like he didn't want to hurt, he had two equally qualified candidates, and he didn't want to hurt somebody's feeling or hurt their ego. And maybe there's more to know, but
exactly.
To me, it looked indecisive.
I remember,
and I'm gonna make a.
Go ahead, Pike.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a comparison of what Sam just said. Is he was just indecisive about naming a defensive coordinator, and the defense is playing indecisive.
Right. Now I will say when it came to naming a quarterback, he was very decisive about that, which that was pretty easy at the beginning of the season.
Right. It
was.
I'm assuming. I mean, it seemed like every time he's come up on these quarterback situations, he's done what I thought he should do. I don't know if he did the right thing, but when he went ahead and sat James down, I thought that was a good decision. Go on, bring James back now, because we've seen the top, and it's not good enough with what we have out there for Andy to take us anywhere. So you may as well see for sure what you have in Jameis. I don't think he's good enough to do it, but I could be wrong. It could be just a few more games. But anyway, you got him this year, and he's on your roster, so you may as well play him, because it doesn't appear we'll be going anywhere anyway. So let's do what's right for the team and, see what we have. In the off season, assuming things keep going kind of in the same rhythm and we miss the playoffs, something like that, do y'all think she's going to make him one and done? Or do you think she's going to give him another year?
I think it might depend on the final record. If we'll be playing 17 games.
Yep, and we won 3.
If we're 3-14 or 4-16, maybe even 5-14 or whatever, 5-12. Gail and Lucia and Loomis are gonna have a sit down anyway. I think. If it stays where it is and we don't, it doesn't get any better. If it just stays here, they're gonna have to have a conversation. And that.
I don't think the Saints are actually gonna roll like that. I think they're gonna look at the big picture of all the injuries and stuff, and I just think they're gonna meet at, if they're gonna get rid of him, I think they're gonna meet at the end of the year.
Yep.
And an hour after that game is over, they're gonna fire him. The last game of the season. Right. But I think they're gonna give him a mulligan this year. And I think he's gonna have next year. Now, if next year is the same as this year, he probably. I don't see them firing him in the middle of the year, because I'm like Sam. I don't agree with doing that kind of stuff. But I think he'll be out after next year
How,
if it's more the same.
how many
Right.
years does he
And
sign,
let me
Sam?
say, I think 3.
Okay.
I think it's a 3-year deal. So I don't think that's going to be an obstacle either way.
Gotcha.
But on the one hand, I'm like, man, he's not doing a very good job. I don't think he's going to get it. I don't think it's going to work. On the other hand, he's I don't know exactly how to articulate what I want to say. He may need time to entrench himself,
Right.
to get comfortable with the situation, and he may be able to turn around. Either way it goes, we have some issues. So I don't think it's a rush to get rid of him or not. What I just don't want to do is and this may be unfair to him, but I don't want to necessarily continue shaping a team that he wants. In other words, when I go to the draft, I'm drafting best player available.
Mm-hmm.
He might say he wants a this or that. Unless I think that's the best player available at the time, if I'm Loomis, I'm not taking it. Now, is that fair to him? And if you're going to do him like that personnel-wise in this draft, are you, in essence, cutting his legs out and putting him in a spot where he can't do his job?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not taking his input on personnel, like I said, and all that was speculation. I'm just saying, if I'm going to keep him, I don't mind giving him another year, but I don't know if I'm tailoring personnel around his wants and desires. I'm trying to get the most talent on the team because I'm really just giving him another year just because I don't feel right about firing him after the first year.
Mm-hmm.
And if he pulls it out, great. And if not, I'm already moving on to the next. And I'm going to say, hey, this is the roster we have, a lot of talent here. How can you shape it? And we have an interview and decide from there. So.
That sounds like Mickey Loomis is going to have a lot of input on that.
Yeah,
definitely. Yes. Do you think we have? Are we going to be able to take the best player available? I think the Saints might be forced to go after a need in the offensive line.
That's what I was thinking.
We may be, but I mean,
or a dynamic defensive player if one's available.
Yeah, I think that's a big need right now.
Right. Well,
I don't know what's coming up to college.
Right.
I don't know what that's looking like now. Kind of early for that, but I mean.
Right. And well, y'all know I'm always for drafting offensive linemen, but you think about it, we have a young center, a young guard, and an early second contract tackle on one side and a rookie tackle on the other side, who, let's just say he comes through, you're actually looking pretty good on that line.
I got a question for you guys.
And pretty young.
Do you set Penning for the rest of the season, or do you bring him in?
I'll get him some time.
He got to play.
Yeah, I want him to at least. He don't have to start. He don't have to put him in the most difficult situation. But I definitely want him getting some game time. I'm not rushing him back. Right. But yeah, I want him to play some this season.
Yeah, no, I agree. He has to play.
Gotcha.
He has to get that. He has to get that game feel because the NFL ain't like college. It's a different speed, so he got to get up to speed. And I mean, if that's playing in the last 3 or 4 games of the season, which I think he's eligible to come back next week.
Right. He's in the window anytime now, actually.
Yeah.
Because they give him 21 days to activate him. So, whenever they're ready, but don't rush him. And, I kind of want him in there too, because I think big guys sitting around or not doing their thing for over a year is just not good. So, and then he's making the transition from college to pro. Yeah. Let's get him on the field.
All right, guys, that's it. That's our time for this week. I'm T-Man, G-Man, Sam Robb. We'll see you next week. Who dat?
Who that, Bailey?
Who that?